Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Fantasy Football Start, Sit, and Touchdown Predictions for Week 12. This is all about tight ends. I'm going to work my way through game by game, telling you who to start, who to sit, and of course, how many touchdowns or lack thereof I think each tight end will have. Before we get rolling, please, as I always say, 2 seconds of your time for 2 clicks, a like and a subscribe. That really helps our channel out. We want to unlock some production features and grow this thing. I hope you help us grow. We could really use your support there, and we would greatly appreciate it. But let's just start with Indianapolis versus Houston. Okay, look, if T.Y. Hilton doesn't play at wide receiver, then this means that the Indianapolis Colts, to move the ball, they are going to need both Eric Ebron and Jack Doyle. I would lean more towards Eric Ebron to get in the end zone than Jack Doyle. I do think that if T.Y. Hilton plays, he gets in the end zone, but really if he doesn't play, I think Eric Ebron is the next most likely to get in the end zone this particular week. Usually I project Jack Doyle more, although we saw what happened last week. Jack Doyle, if Hilton doesn't go, I think Jack Doyle is worth the play too, but you might be able to find better value out on the waiver wire, such as Darren Fells for the Houston Texans. I think he does get in the end zone this week. I think he's definitely worth a start, and I think he's still only owned in about 30% of leagues, believe it or not. Carolina versus New Orleans. I do not have Greg Olsen as a start or a touchdown candidate. This week I do not have Jared Cook as a start or a touchdown candidate. Josh Hill is also banged up there. So I think you can find better value elsewhere. I'm not high on either one of these. Denver versus Buffalo. A lot of talk about Noah Fant lately. The bottom line is this Denver Broncos offense is obviously trying to showcase. Noah Fant reminds me of a pre-injury Jordan Reed. He's a mismatch against linebackers. The problem is he has a lot of mental mistakes, costly holding penalties, costly, or blocking too early, offensive pass interference on rub routes, those kinds of things. I don't love Noah Fant because he's too up and down, and projection-wise against Buffalo, I don't like his projection either. So I'm a sit and a non-touchdown on Noah Fant this week, even though I see what this Denver offense is doing. I'm acknowledging it. I just don't like the matchup. For Buffalo, Dawson Knox, I don't like him. I don't like any of the tight ends for Buffalo to score. So few and far between. We'll get to some starts. Don't worry. Let's see. Detroit versus Washington. TJ Hawkinson, he just hasn't been playing that well, so I'm kind of cold on him. I'm a no on him. I think you can find better value elsewhere. He's a sit for me. Washington, I don't like anybody Washington starts. I don't have anybody as a touchdown candidate this week for Washington. Miami versus I'm laughing. Miami versus Cleveland. Oh my gosh. Mike Gesicki, his projection is okay, but he's burned me a couple times. I'm a sit on him as well. Cleveland, I don't like Harris. I don't like Seals-Jones. I don't like anybody for Cleveland. So we're about 6 games in. I only like one of the tight ends so far, maybe 2 or 3, depending on what happens with the T.Y. Hilton injury in Indianapolis. Next game on the list, New York Giants. I love Ingram this week. I do think he gets in the end zone this week against the Chicago Bears. I like his potential there against a tough defense. For the Chicago Bears, I don't like anything they're doing at tight end. So there you go. They're a sit. They're a no touchdown. Oakland versus the New York Jets. I like possibly even both tight ends, but I do like Darren Waller. I don't think he gets in the end zone, but I think he's definitely a start. Foster Moreau is a great guy in a touchdown-only league, although I wouldn't start him in my fantasy football because he has these kind of stat lines like 1 catch, 1 yard, 1 touchdown stat lines. That's not good enough. But again, touchdown only league, he's a good roll the dice for you. New York Jets, I like Ryan Griffin. Sam Darnold likes to work that short intermediate, likes working the flats. He's liking throwing to Jamison Crowder. He's liking throwing to Ryan Griffin. You need to pick Ryan Griffin up. I think starting the week, he was only owned in like 1% of leagues, which is nuts. But Ryan Griffin, I think moving forward is going to be a nice tight end to have this week. I actually have him getting in the end zone against Oakland, so check him out there. Pittsburgh versus Atlanta. Look, Pittsburgh versus Cincinnati. My bad. We saw it last week. The weakness of this Cincinnati Bengals defense is, first of all, the running game. Second of all, the middle of the field. So if Pittsburgh is going to be working the middle of the field, they should use Vance McDonald. I have Vance McDonald projected as a sit, although I suspect he will exceed this expectation. Analytically, I do not have him as a touchdown candidate, but I have a feeling that he'll get in there. So while I wouldn't start him on my fantasy football team, I will rotate him into some daily fantasy lineups. Cincinnati, same kind of deal there with Uzomah or Eifert. It's kind of, pick your tight end there, but I don't pick any offensive player for Cincinnati these days. Zach Taylor's so bad as a coach. I'm banging the drum. I think they got to fire him, but we'll see what happens. Let's see. Tampa Bay versus Atlanta. I don't like O.J. Howard or Cameron Brate to get in the end zone this week. I'm sorry for all you owners that drafted O.J. Howard. For people that picked up my Fantasy Football Almanac and Draft Guide, you didn't do it because I saw this coming. Bruce Arians doesn't really utilize tight ends too often. So it's unfortunate. O.J. Howard's a very, very talented player, but I hope that they move him somewhere else. I wish they had traded him before the deadline, but he's too talented. I hope he goes somewhere that will use his talents. Can you imagine him in Green Bay to replace Jimmy Graham? Ooh, man, that would be a really, really good landing spot. Let's see. Atlanta. If Austin Hooper plays, I have him getting in the end zone twice. If he doesn't play, I don't like the backup there. I actually think the touchdowns go more towards Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley. So again, just pay attention. I'm not sure if he's going to play. There was some buzz about him possibly playing last week, and then it came out like on Friday or Saturday that he definitely wasn't going to play. It's a tricky injury. It doesn't seem like anybody really has a handle. So just pay attention. If he plays, I love him this week. I would assume that he's not going to play. We'll see what happens. Jacksonville versus Tennessee. I do not like any Jacksonville Jaguar tight end to score or to be worth a start. For Tennessee, look, Delaney Walker I think is going to be back this week. Is Delaney Walker going to draw the targets? Is Jonnu Smith, who I think probably should have exceeded Delaney Walker at this point in the depth chart. I like one of these tight ends to play. I like one of these tight ends to get in the end zone, but you just have to pick the one. My bet is on Jonnu Smith. If you think it's Delaney Walker, go with your gut, but I think a tight end for Tennessee scores. Like I said, it's just kind of a roll of the dice to figure out which one. It depends on which tight end is on the field at this time, and I feel like they're probably going to split snaps in terms of key reception downs. Dallas versus New England. I do not like Witten. I do not like Jarwin as touchdown candidates. I have them both as sits. I don't like Ben Watson either. I have him as a sit. Green Bay versus San Francisco. I do not like Jimmy Graham. I have him as a sit. If George Kittle can go, I love him this week. I have him as a start. If he can't go, look, Ross Dwelly, they're not going to use him too much to stretch the field or move the chains like they would with Kittle, so you're not going to get a 7-reception game from him, I don't think, but you will get, especially in touchdown-only leagues, I do think you'll get opportunities on the goal line just like we saw last week. He had two catches for 2 touchdowns. He could get you there this week. I don't love it. I love George Kittle to score definitely once. Ross Dwelly, maybe he gets in the end zone, but that's the only value you're going to get. You're not going to get a lot of receptions and yardage. Seattle versus Philadelphia. I actually like a lot of the tight ends in this game. Jacob Hollister I have as a start. I do not think he'll get in the end zone, but I do think he'll get you enough yardage and receptions to warrant a start. And, Russell Wilson does like looking for him on the goal line, so there's always a chance, right? For Philadelphia, I like Zach Ertz, and I do think Zach Ertz finally gets back in the end zone, but I also like Dallas Goedert. With the banged-up receivers, Philadelphia is going more towards kind of that 2 tight end look. I think Philadelphia and Indianapolis schematically are going to be very similar this week based on some of the wide receiver issues for both teams. So I think Dallas Goedert does carry value, although I don't love his projection. I do think he'll exceed that projection, and I think he is a touchdown candidate, but I think it's more likely that Zach Ertz really just has a strong game this week. Baltimore versus the LA Rams. I love Mark Andrews. I think he gets in the end zone. I actually like Nick Boyle, same as what I was saying before with Dallas Goedert. I think Nick Boyle could get in the end zone as well. I think both tight ends against the LA Rams will be worth playing. If you like Hayden Hurst more than Boyle, you can rotate him in. I just like Boyle more than I like Hurst, and of course, like I said, I love Andrews. This week, I do not like Gerald Everett. I don't have him as a touchdown candidate, and I think you can do better on the waiver wire than to start him. So I don't love him against Baltimore, but there you go. So that takes me through the tight ends for week 12 of the NFL season. I also do videos for quarterback, running back, and wide receiver, so check those out as well. Once again, please like and subscribe. If you think I'm missing on something, or you want some explanation, or just want to leave a comment, please do so. Comment. I'll be as interactive as I can with you. And then everybody, once again, thanks for watching, and we will catch you on another episode soon.